Well, here we are in Lisbon. I don't know if you have traveled or you have taken the underground, but my previous trip was in Indonesia. It took me 18 hours to get back home. So, but now I think my jet lag is over, so I should be okay. So this is what we are going to cover today. And before we start into this amazing topic of autonomous AI agents, which is a little bit mysterious, I'm going to give you like a little bit of introduction of all of the news and products around Google and around AI. But before we start with all the knowledge and all the tips and everything, I want to start introducing myself. So this is my name. I'm originally from Barcelona, and this is Gerard. Very complicated. But in Portuguese, you have the sound, so you will be able to pronounce it. Maybe the only attendees that can pronounce my name. And yeah, so I'm a Google developer expert, which is kind of an often denomination for active people in the community. And if you ever meet a Google developer expert, you will see that they are like really, really into technology, and they are creating content, going to events, organizing meetups. It's probably the best connection that you can do during an event. And I know that there are some here. Can you raise your head so you can be identified by the crowd? Okay, applause for them. Thank you. Really cool. So this is a picture from COVID times. Since then, I got a little bit of weight, but okay. I was very active. And here, you can see all the places I've been. I mean, this is not my first conference. And I'm very happy because I added a new country to my list. This is now 43 countries where I given a talk or event or conference. And as you can see, I'm very happy of all my travels in Asia. And just recently, in this month, I was in Perth, Australia, and also in Jakarta, very close to Jakarta, Bogor. We did the Dev Fest. And yeah, I'll keep going until I retire, I guess. Okay, so before we start, I'm also organizer of Web3 London. I'm not sure if you are big fans of Web3 or blockchain, but I am. And I have a little ask for you. So this is a POAP, and a POAP is a badge that you can create in the blockchain. And today, if you allow me, I'll introduce you to Web3 by giving away an NFT. How exciting is that? And this will be forever in the blockchain. This is for free. You just need to scan the QR, and we can see how many people is doing it. So I already see the number, just one. So I'm waiting for some of you to do the QR, and you will see how this number increases. You just need your email. It's not what is a pyramid scheme or anything. But it's in the blockchain and it's public for everyone to see. And it's quite cool. Wow. My God, that's a big... Oh, I think we got hacked. Okay. Anyway, if you don't have the POAP, you can also reach me and I can give you like personally and also with a handshake. Awesome. How easy was that? So you are all now part of the blockchain and Web3, which is quite exciting. And for the same price. Okay. Let's start with a question. What if an AI could do your job? Let's think about this for a moment. Okay. And the reaction, now, this is mostly the reaction. Not even from developers, for everyone. It's like, what are you talking? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so this is the first. This is not supposed to happen like this. the meme failed. Okay, why find this one? So when do you think that could happen? I mean, some people will think that that will never happen. But for the optimists in the room, like how long do you think that may be going to happen? Maybe 5 years, 10 years? That's reasonable. Sounds kind of reasonable for what we have seen. It's happening now already. Yes. We have seen with GitHub Copilot and other tools that this is going quite fast. My God, that's a single picture and still loading. Can you get offline? This is still loading. Look at this, Jesus. Now, complete. Applause, round of applause for this Wi-Fi. Okay, so of course we need to listen what the leaders in the space, like Elon Musk, have to say. And Elon Musk just tweeted a lot of things, but one of them was AI is likely to overtake humans in the next 5 years. And this is now, I think, 2 years ago. So that, of course, I mean, take it with a little grain of salt. So we know that Google got really, really into panic mode last year. I don't know if you remember when ChatGPT was released. I think they did the whole company went into panic mode. And then the whole year they have been catching up, like, okay, we need to do something. And Google actually the year event from Google, and this is what they share all the strategy and what they are working on, etc. So it's pretty exciting. And here I'm going to show you some of the options you have if you want to start into Google Generative AI. And here we have few things. So we have features, we have an axis on features and on complexity. So if you want the most features and a little bit more complex to get on, you can start with Vertex AI, which is the Google Cloud ecosystem, or you can maybe start with Bard. Bard is the equivalent of ChatGPT. So if you haven't tried it, will give you similar features. And then as a developer, as you want to start building your AI-enabled applications, you can start playing with MakerSwift, which is a playground where you can create your prompts, edit your chatbots, and once you are happy with them, you try them with maybe some users or maybe with your team. And then when you want to release it, you can just grab the code that is automatically generated for you and you can test it in your. So this is a little bit of an intro of what you have available. And here are a little bit more details. So Bard will be the AI chat from Google. Then the foundational model, which is what powers all of the features in generative AI. For Google, the foundational model is PaLM 2. In OpenAI, that will be the GPT-4 models and GPT-4 Turbo now. And then we have the platform, which is the Google Cloud Vertex AI service. And then just recently, we got Duet AI, which is what they call an AI assistant and will be very close to what we will introduce today as an AI agent. So a little bit of an intro here, and I'm trying to give you like as much information as I can because this year has been crazy on AI. This is one of the models. So all of these models that you have seen and maybe used, these are what they are called generalist models. But of course, a model that was trained with the information from the internet and Wikipedia and forums, etc., is not the best source. So this is an example, one of the few examples that different teams have trained the models using a specific quality, high quality data, not the internet, but official information. And this is the NetPalm for medicine, and actually, I think that this is already state of the art. So there's no other technology that offers the same capabilities. Really, really cool stuff. And we have a similar example for security. So Google has trained a model only with security threats and how to fix them. So this is also available and very different to ChatGPT or Bard, which are trained from public information from the internet. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the other are just like Wikipedia information, which is not the best quality. Okay, one thing that has happened since the release of generative AI models is that we can see that we are breaking language barriers. And this is quite exciting because we are seeing a lot of applications where this generative AI can understand more than 100 languages. And sometimes these are dialects, sometimes these are very small languages. For example, Catalan is here. And of course, all of the main languages in Europe and around the world. So that means that in a lot of the tools that we are using today, at some point, these languages will be included and supported, which if you are working with remote teams, that's going to be either good or really bad. But we'll see what happens. Some of the topics that remain since the release of all these foundational models is the responsible use of AI. And this is one of the worries of everyone. I mean, not only because it can take maybe jobs, or maybe it can create some social changes, but of course we don't want AI to be abusing. For example, we don't want AI to be harmful, or we don't want AI to be weaponized. So there's a lot of things, and these are the principles from Google, and something that you need to take into account if you decide to build AI features. Okay. This is the first break and my first meme. Get used to these memes. All right. So the next event after Google I/O, this was more recent. This was just end of August. This is the same year event, but now for Google Cloud, which is called Next, Google Cloud Next. And as you can see, the main products at this event were Vertex AI and Duet AI. These are the highlights of the event last August. And let's focus a little bit more now on Vertex AI. And I'm going to show you some of the features and things that you can do. One of the most exciting things about Vertex AI is that it not only gives you access to PaLM, the foundational model from Google, but also includes all of the open source models that we can find. Like, for example, the most promising today, I think, is Llama 2 from Meta. So you can build using Llama 2 and deploy these models and use them for your applications within a service in Google Cloud. Really exciting. Then we have the foundational models. So the foundational models on Vertex AI are a little bit more extensive. If you start in generative AI, you will start with PaLM 2 for text or PaLM 2 for chat, which are two options to get started. But then in Vertex AI, we have many other options. And here you can see some of them. So we have code, we have voice, and we have also vision. So we can identify parts of the images. We can also, of course, use solutions specifically for code and also support text-to-speech and speech-to-text. Before, on the bottom, you can see the code names. So if you're actually developing for these generative AI models, you will start using these code names for the models. All right. Some news. So this is a new model, a new family of models, and this was released around the Google Cloud Next time. And you can see that now we have larger context models, and this is all the information that we can use in our prompts. Of course, it's much more capable if you can use documents up to 48 pages, but if you are limited to just 12. So this is good news, and then it depends on what feature you want to add to your application. This can be a key for your application. And probably the most exciting development in the last few months is Duet AI. And why is that? So this is Duet AI for Google Workspace. And that means if you join a Google Meet call, you not only get a summary at the end of the call, but if you get, for example, late, you can talk to the Duet AI and catch up on anything that was said or anything that was related to yourself. So actually, that's pretty exciting. And then, of course, you get automation on what are the action items, and also this can be automated. So that's not only using the version of AI that we have seen with ChatGPT to maybe write an email, but now we are doing work. This is actually doing work in your systems and using all the ecosystem of Google together. Of course, this is the same for language support. So you can also imagine not being English native speaker and being able to discuss what is being said in the meeting in another language. And then, of course, if we are building in Google Cloud, we have the same Duet AI for Google Cloud. And the example here is translating a C++ database connection into Go. So before, if you had no experience, that could take maybe a couple of days to develop and test and everything. Right now, with Duet AI and other tools that are coming, not only you get the features from ChatGPT in the tools that you are using for development, but then the tools also know the ecosystem. So if you want to deploy this code and if you want to test that this connection is actually working, you can actually ask Duet AI to do that for you, and you get everything working in the same environment. How cool is that? This is the second generation, and it's basically what we are going to cover today, AI agents. They can not only generate text, but they can also execute actions, which is pretty exciting. Some news also that came from this event, Google Cloud Next. Now Google is going to send lawyers if somebody is, this is interesting, because of course the training of these models sometimes can get you in trouble. So what Google has realized is that Google is going to protect you against other people suing you. And this is now covering Vertex AI and Duet AI. So if you are serious about developing in using generative AI, you can also tell your team and your boss that they can be sleeping at night because they are protected. At least if you don't do anything in purpose. Of course, if you are training the models using some data that is not protected, that's your own business. But not using the generative AI from Google, you will be protected. Okay, how cool is that? I mean, I'm giving you a lot of information slowly, like spoon feeding you. Let's see your faces. Yeah, very good, very attuned. Let me give you an introduction because this is AI, and most of you maybe are not familiar with it. So artificial intelligence is a way that machines can imitate human intelligence. And usually it will be through repetition and through looking at many samples. This goes into machine learning, which is quite exciting because it's unsupervised. Most of the AI is always supervised. That means that researchers have to be following what the AI or what the algorithm is doing and how it's progressing. But machine learning leaves this behind and start learning unsupervised, which is much more scalable, as we know, and it has brought some exciting developments. And then we get into deep learning, which is neural networks. And this sounds a little bit out of common knowledge, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction and some examples of what we use in machine learning. So this is a very popular machine learning project in biology, which is called the AlphaFold tool. And we got here a comparison between a few years back in 2016 and last year in 2022. We can see that the resolution of these machine learning algorithms has improved qualitatively. You can see that all the details we can see in green, in the yellow, were just not there in the previous version. Another example, of course, voice assistant. And of course, we all have used Google Translate. So this will be the previous generation, not generative AI, but machine learning. If we get into neural networks, the way they work is basically by trial and error. And that means that they go through a lot of examples and then they try to do one task. In this case, it's classifying between pictures from cats or pictures from dogs. Once the picture gets to the final stage, if it's obviously not a cat, then it will sort inside and fix the weights. It's a cat. It's a cat. If you were waiting for the animation. All right, and of course, another meme. I mean, don't ask me where I found these memes in the dark internet. So this is a common question, and I'm gonna ask it to you. So there's these like two sides of the conversation. One thinks that generative AI is basically a stochastic parrot, which just repeats what it has seen in training, without any consciousness, without any reasoning, etc. Or some people argue that this could be the beginning of AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Where are you standing in this debate? You think it's just mathematics, or you think that there's something else happening with your experience of ChatGPT, bars, etc.? Okay, stochastic parrot, just a parrot. Okay, and what about AGI? We had some strange conversations with this chatbot, isn't it? Okay, I mean, I think it's somewhat in between. There's no extremes. I think we don't really know exactly what we are dealing for, and we need more research. But yeah, I think it's both, a little bit of both. If we look at the training, I'm going to show you how these models learn, and then you can decide what of these two options you want to take. So Wikipedia, we take an article, really small for this example, and this is the actual text. Okay, so we have Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. This is the whole text. The model, the task is get the next word. So it gets, of course, it needs some word to start. So Christopher is a given word, and the first job for Palm is, okay, what will be the next word? Palm comes with is, which is okay, but because we know which is the second word, now the model, we look at the second word, so it does this game of pretending it doesn't know the next word, trying to guess it, and then continue. Here it failed, so now it will go back to the neural network and it will correct the weights to favor Columbus, because is not working, so I'm going to favor the token Columbus. If we do that again, the model now takes the next word, which we know, and now it's going to try to get the following word, which is, for the model, could be was. No, Christopher Columbus was. It's a good guess, but we know that it's discovered, so that will also fail. As we go deeper and deeper into the article, of course, the model now has more chances to be right. I mean, now it has a lot of context. Christopher Columbus discovered, I believe, like almost 90% is going to say America. No, I mean, not everybody agrees, but that's going to show, and maybe not, but but when it gets to the end, every time that it fails or it guesses right, it's going to change the way. It's not only when it fails, but all the time. All the time it's trying to make the training data as close as the guess as it can. So this is how it works. This is basically, now you know how it works inside. What is happening behind the scenes is we are building this hyperdimensional graph. And all of these tokens are building the dimensions, which is all the time that the same tokens repeat after or in connection. And then when we finish the training, we got what is called the latent space. So the latent space is all of the possibilities after looking at all of the training, which is the millions and millions of words. What is the resulting hyperdimensional graph? So that's the latent space. And if we look at one of these tokens, it looks something like this. I mean, it's really boring because it's an array of values. And each value, it gives you one of the dimensions, which is fixed for Palm 2. And in this case, it's 768 dimensions. And every word, every token is going to have a sequence of these values. And if you did mathematics and combinatorics, you know that you can get like a really, really big number with 768 with a float for each dimension. The whole lot of possibilities, that's the latent space. That's anything that this model can create when you give it an input. And that's it. Because it's a combinatorics plane or game, this is everything. Of course, it's a big, big number. And another example could be like this. And you can see that each dimension, which is how the model has seen the word related to other words, has played out at the end. Okay. So how actually these tokens work? So I did an example, and all the models need to tokenize the input. And I tokenized a couple of words. Potato cooler, it doesn't exist, but I just made it up. And you can see the tokens. So these are the tokens. This is how the model sees the input. It has nothing to do. I mean, it's very difficult to relate. If I use a dash and I say potato dash cooler, you can see that now it makes a lot of sense. If we look at the different, as persons, we will go for the second, no? We will go, what useful information can come from the first? It's crazy, no? It's also mixing the two words, no? There's a token, the O and the C, which is from two different words. It's from cool and potato. That's never gonna work, no? So you need to be very, very sensible on how you do your prompts. Adding a dot can completely change how the prompt is seen by the model. And this is one of the examples. Of course, if you're not developing and you don't have a tokenizer for your model, maybe this is completely happening behind the scenes. But you need to know about this. And this is an example of a latent space. And this is a latent space from Lion, which is an image data corpus. And you can see how the classification of information goes and works. You can see like a big mess in the center, and then different topics, they are a little bit farther away. For food, we got like a cluster here in this corner. So that means that when we do a prompt involving food, we are going to fall into that combinations of dimensions, which is kind of a location. No? If you think of the dimensions like a multidimensional coordinate, that's going to put you in this area. It's like a region. But there are multiple regions here, and look at this region here at the bottom. This is very noisy. And why is noisy? Well, this is celebrities. These are pictures from celebrities, and every cluster is one person. So, of course, we have like different clouds, which are all the data around a person. All this information is usually not public. So, for example, if we want to know the latent space for ChatGPT or GPT-4, this is not public. So it's very difficult to know if we are dealing with one area of knowledge, which could be recipes, like cooking recipes. We don't know exactly how much information is in there, or if the information has high density or low density, etc., etc. So it's very difficult to navigate. Problems with this approach, because we have gone through the training, we know that the training is based on these very sensible tokens. It's biased. Of course, it depends on the training data. And also it's non-factual. It can create fantasies. It can create things that are not factual. People have tried many things with generative AI, and one thing that people have tried is to do mathematical operations. Of course, it fails. How is that going to work? Getting text from Wikipedia, and then you want to get a mathematical operation on the other side, is never going to work. And few things like these are some of the limitations of generative AI. Here, I'm going to show you some things you can do to limit these problems of hallucinations. And one thing people is doing a Google search so you can actually try to ground some of the facts. Another thing people are doing is using vector databases, and this is to add information around the prompt that you are executing. And Google is, of course, using the Google Knowledge Graph, which, if you are using Google search, is the metadata that is appearing sometimes on the right. So if you look for a celebrity, it will give you the age, it will give you if it's married, it will give you some metadata. The metadata is coming from Google Knowledge Graph. All right, look at this. You are getting there slowly. We are getting there slowly. So what is an AI agent, Gerard? Okay, so one example is Bob. Bob actually can decide to use tools. And it has a few tools. It can run Google searches. So if you do a query, it can decide by itself to run Google search. It can also use a calculator, because we know that generative AI cannot do mathematics. It can use a calculator and run the calculator to get a result. That's the implementation as developers is really simple. It's just executing some Python code and getting the result as a string and giving it back to the prompt. So things like this are being used. We also have access to a Python sandbox, so we can also run code, not only mathematical operations. And this is a little bit of the fundamentals. What people is using is LangChain, which allows you to get power in connection with these tools, so you can run like a pipeline of these commands, and then from the UI you can execute different tools. And who is deciding this? Is Bob. Bob has instructions and it knows what tools are available, and it can make little decisions. So if it has some information referring to a previous fact in the conversation, it can look in the chat history and will use whatever was in the conversation before. Another thing is, it sees a mathematical calculation, it can execute the mathematical operation outside of the model and get the result back. And of course, the model could use the training data, and this is what you have been using in ChatGPT, and you know, maybe you're familiar with the cutoff date, which is the date when the model was trained. For ChatGPT, that was September 2021, which would be something that you would never think of. But yeah, the model only knows about the information that was trained off. I mean, that's something that you cannot go around. And for now, what people have found is that if you give it access to Google search, it can give you, day-to-day and information that is actual. This is a little bit more elaborate, but if you have a Python sandbox, you can also run code and give the results for that. Okay, very good. I need to go a little bit faster. So for Palm, a little bit of details of Palm. Just released in April. As you can see, this has gone like really fast. The information it was trained is Generative, so it's a common crawl, GitHub, Wikipedia, and books. It has 340 billion parameters, which is the weights and biases. And some of the questions people ask me is how Palm 2 compares to GPT-4 and also how it compares to open source. If you can see, open source has caught up with GPT 3.5, which was released last year. So in just a few months, they have caught up with GPT 3.5, and GPT-4 is getting like very, very close. So the competition is now on. And I think in the next few months, we will see how these open source models will do better than our commercial models. So how you can use these models? We have three options, which we have covered with the embeddings. If you remember, the embeddings are these vectors with all the dimensions, and you can use it in your apps. And if you decide to develop, you have two options, basically, front-end and back-end. And these are some of the technologies that you can use. The only difference is that the back-end has clients and SDKs, and the front-end only has REST API, which takes a little bit more time to develop. The way you can build these solutions is you use MakerSuite, ask for an API key, and that will give you access to a development environment that you can use. Let me show you a demo. This is on my GitHub. You can go anytime. And this is I built on Angular version 17. And you can use it as you would expect from the tools you would have seen before. The main thing that I did here is I included text-to-speech from 11 Labs. So I'm going to run this so you can see what you can do using that technology.
Explain generative AI to me like I'm 5. Generative AI can make new things like art or music by learning from what people have already made.
As you can see, I use Italian-English model. But yeah, I built a lot of things. As you can see, you can also build diagrams and all sorts of things. The main thing that you need to take into account is you give it text and it gives you text back. But you can build in some fancy renders to get a little bit more like fancy information. Okay, so we got to the point of the llama. Have a mental break, and we have covered this. We have a little bit more time to cover Bart, and Bart is probably the best example that you can use today. As I was telling you, it has access to all these tools, so you can go ahead and try it. It has, since September, it has added a lot of features. It has support to images with Google Lens, which you are probably familiar. Here, I was sharing a picture of a butterfly, and it gave me all the information. Another thing you can do is give it a picture of ingredients, and it will give you the correct recipe. Or you can give it a form, a screenshot, and it will create that in Angular or React or any other technology. It has support for graphics. It's pretty awesome, but probably the most exciting is the extensions, which give you now access to Google Drive, Gmail, and other tools from Google. So this is an example I ran this week, which is look into my Gmail for information about this event, and it gave me the date, it gives me the venue, etc., etc. So that's some technology that you can use today. This is for free if you go to Google Bard. And some other features that have just been released is access to YouTube. So you just need to use at YouTube and ask anything to be summarized or what, for example, this guest said during the interview, things like that. Pretty exciting stuff. We can go and use, I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to show you how the autonomous AI agents work. This is a little bit more advanced architecture, and we're going to go through this. So we need to provide an objective. And as you can see, we don't have an input and output. We have many interactions. And as far as in this diagram, I have 4 different calls to the model in an iterative process. So once we set the goal, the model will create a plan, which will be the task that will be prioritized and then executed. Of course, we need to get the context from the conversation, and then giving access to some tools, it will execute those tasks. Of course, it will store the results so we can keep the conversation going, but this is a little bit more advanced than what you are used to. All right. I have some slides here going around how to build the prompts, which we don't have time, but I'm going to go straight to the demo. And this is Agent GPT, and this is providing a goal. The goal is providing a 7-day trip to Lisbon, including some recommendations, etc. And this is a demo that you can run as well. It's called Agent GPT. And I'm just going to run it so you can see how that works. And it's basically following the diagram that I showed you before. So it will create the tasks,
and then it will queue the task and execute those tasks until it gets to the end result. Of course, the list of tasks is dynamic, and then also the execution will be for this agent instance. We can see how it goes to the different steps, and as it finishes each task, it will execute the queue of tasks until it finishes. You can give it a try later, but this is a little bit more complex than what we are used to with just give it a prompt and getting an output. And I don't know if we can get to the end as it's getting doing different actions like doing a web search and trying to find more details about the different options of visiting actually list box. So it's getting a little bit more complex. For this agent, you can have a maximum of 5 tasks. Of course, if you implement this, you can put it without any limit. Okay, we got to the budget, up to the 5 steps, but we have seen that we have reached up to day 6, and we have different options that you can also get here manually by asking this yourself, but of course this is an automated way of doing it. All right. Happy times. We got to the end. Now the future. Google is working on a new model. This is Google Gemini from DeepMind, and that's going to be released very soon. So what would you build together with AI? The AI revolution is here. Hope I inspired you. This is how it looks when I inspire someone. What are you talking, Gerard? What are you smoking? Thank you for today. Thank you, Gerard. It was really cool. So, guys, do you have any questions? I hope you have a lot of them. Please raise your hand. So I got something. No?
All right. Thanks. Sorry. I'm really curious about this Duet AI or the developer assistant.
Yes.
So is it a complete alternative of GitHub Copilot? Or and maybe generally, could you please give us some what are the plans for this product, and when do you think it already can be adopted into our day-to-day work?
Yes, absolutely. So this is part of the AI agents. I mean, AI agents go for different names, but some companies, they call them assistants. Some companies, they call it different ways, but it's just integrating the generative AI foundational models that we know, but in more complex architectures. Usually, you would expect to just make a query and get a response. But of course, as I was trying to show you, now the architectures that Google and other companies are using are getting more complicated in the sense that it's not going to just have access to maybe a Google search, but it's going to be executing tasks that will be prioritized in different stages, and then we'll have access to different tools and APIs. It's getting a little bit more complex than just one interaction that is just getting you a response. And in that sense, the main difference from these models is that the model is actually inside the tool, and it has access to different APIs that, of course, before you would have to get the result from ChatGPT or Google Bot and then integrate it into your workspace. Right now, the same with GitHub Copilot, the best mix is that you have the generative AI with access to all your environment. Of course, this will go into different stages, and as the developers learn new ways of using the integrations, they will get more capable. For example, you could have GitHub Copilot, for example, it could scaffold a whole project from scratch. You could ask it, build me Angular 17 or SSR project or application, And now it has the knowledge. It can, for example, run the commands on Angular CLI. It could automate all of that process. It's just that they didn't build it yet. But the technology is there. They just need to build these features. And then, of course, we have seen some of these happening already. If you check Project IDX, it's a new project from Google that gives you everything. So you have the automation of the deployment, the build, and it's all on a browser. And it just controls everything from the build, not just the code, like refactor this function or create me a documentation of this class, but it has access to the whole environment. And it can build or test, etc. Like from a automation perspective.
Thank you for beautiful presentation, especially the means were fantastic. I will profess my question with a short sentence that I'm very positive and I'm looking forward to see how AI will take off my work. So I will do something way more exciting. My question here is that what is your outlook on like independent regulation of how we integrate these things in our life? Because it's so fancy that we have all the tools here, but ultimately we all know that companies are not created to make our lives easier. Companies are made to make money, right? So when companies claim that they are committed to build ethical tools, well, it sounds like a washing, and like everybody's talking about that. But what I'm looking for is something independent from revenue-based companies to oversee what are the quality standards for the generative models. So what is your outlook for that? Do you expect some regulations to be integrated in our lives in depth?
So how can I put it simply? Have you been at the beach on a Sunday?
Yeah, a couple of times.
It can get a little bit messy. No, people try to get space or the best space, and then people go really early. But then you get families with kids. You get your grandmother. Or you get like your teenagers with music, and it gets a little bit crazy. It's difficult to follow the beach on a Sunday morning. So right now, AI is a little bit like this. People is, getting all the space that they want. They are being noisy. They are getting, the best spot like in the front of the beach. And some people are at the back, not getting like the best experience, etc. It's difficult because it's human behavior. And probably you will see OpenAI like, yeah, we are at the front of the beach and you cannot enjoy the beach because we are just in front of you. Or we have a wall, and before there was a beach, now you can see the wall that we have built. It's difficult because the moment you give freedom to people and there's a new space, like the beach in a Sunday, if you get there at 8 in the morning and you put like a disco festival or whatever, it's difficult for someone to try to make sense of it. Because there will be a lot of people trying to make money. There will be a lot of people that they are just having to try have a nice time and not looking for business or anything else. But unfortunately, you will get a lot of people trying to make easy and quick money. And I guess that happens everywhere. I mean, it's nothing you can really avoid. So, no, I don't think there's anything you can do, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. We ran out of time for now, but I think that Gerard will be available at the expert zone, so we can ask all the questions there. Thank you very much.
No worries.
That's really inspiring.
Okay.